The storm rolled in like a judgment from the heavens. Thunder cracked through the valley, and the wind carried whispers of sin, forgiveness, and all the things men tried to bury. Inside a lonely cabin on the far edge of Dry Hollow, Abigail Monroe knelt by the fire, soaked, shaking, and broken. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the edge of the thin cloth around her shoulders. Behind her, the heavy wooden door creaked open. Rancher Luke Carver stepped in, water dripping from his hat brim, his boots heavy with mud. He froze the second his eyes met her. She turned slowly, her breath trembling. "I took it off. Please," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. Luke didn't move, didn't speak. The crackle of fire filled the silence between them, a silence heavier than thunder, more dangerous than a drawn gun. Abigail's voice shook. "They said if I took it off, maybe I could start over." Luke's jaw tightened. "Who said that?" She looked down. "The town ladies. After the trial." His eyes softened for just a second. "You didn't deserve that trial. They said I was cursed," she whispered. "That a woman whose husband hangs himself should cover her face until she's forgiven." Luke stepped closer, rain dripping from his coat. "You did nothing wrong." "I believed them for a while," she said softly, voice cracking. "But then the storm came and I couldn't breathe under that cloth anymore." He watched her, fragile, shivering, but burning with something fierce beneath all that hurt. "I took it off, Luke," she said again. "And now, I don't know who I am." Luke set his hat down slowly, kneeling beside her. The firelight danced across his scarred face. A man who'd seen war, loss, and too many graves. "You're someone who still feels," he said. "That's more than most of us." Her lips trembled. "And what if feeling hurts? Then it means you're still alive." Tears streamed freely now. Abigail's hands trembled as she tried to pull the cloth back around her shoulders, but Luke stopped her gently. "Don't hide," he said. "Not here." Her eyes met his, scared, searching, but not alone anymore. Outside, lightning flashed across the open plains. Luke rose, poured her a mug of coffee, and sat by the fire beside her. "You can stay tonight," he said quietly. "Storm will break by dawn." She nodded, clutching the mug, staring into the flames. "You think God still listens to women like me?" He smiled faintly. "He listens to everyone, but I reckon he listens closer to the ones the world forgets." She blinked, fighting fresh tears. "You talk like you know." He stared at the fire. "I do. My wife, she took her own life too." Abigail's breath caught. Luke's voice went quiet. "Folks said it was my fault, that I worked her to death, that I didn't love her right. Truth is, I just couldn't save her. Sometimes that's worse than guilt, living with what you couldn't stop." Abigail turned to him. "Then why help me?" He looked at her, and for the first time she saw the storm inside him. "Because maybe saving you saves what's left of her." The wind howled outside. The fire burned low. Abigail set the mug down and stared at her reflection in the window, a ghost of a woman, eyes hollow but still burning. "I can't go back to town," she whispered. "They'll never let me forget." Luke leaned forward. "Then don't." "What?" He stood. "Stay here. There's work, cattle, fences, long days. But it's quiet. And no one will ask you to cover your face." She hesitated, torn between fear and hope. "You'd let me stay?" He nodded. "As long as you need." Weeks passed. The cabin filled with life again. The sound of chores, laughter, and the quiet comfort of two souls learning to breathe. Abigail worked the ranch alongside him, her hands blistered but proud. She laughed again, softly at first, then like someone remembering joy. But the whispers still found her. Men at the trading post muttering about the widow living with the rancher. One evening she came home trembling. "They called me shameful again," she said. "Said I'll burn for it." Luke turned from the corral, his eyes sharp. "Let them talk. They ain't the ones who know your story." Her voice broke. "But I can't live as a ghost forever." He took a step forward, then another, until he stood inches from her. "Then stop haunting yourself." She froze, her breath catching. "Luke!" He raised a calloused hand, brushing the tears from her cheek. "You're not sin. You're survival." That night, she dreamed of the day she'd found her husband. The rope, the stillness, the letter that said, "I can't live with who I am." When she woke, Luke was outside chopping wood under the dawn light. She stepped onto the porch, watching him. Strong, scarred, silent. Every swing of his axe like a promise against the world that had hurt them both. And for the first time in years, she felt something stir inside her. Not fear, but fire. Weeks later, the preacher came riding up the trail. "Mrs. Monroe," he called, tipping his hat. "The town says you've gone astray, but I reckon I see something else." She met his gaze calmly. "What do you see, Reverend?" "A woman who's finally taken off what was never hers to wear, shame." Luke stepped onto the porch, arms folded. "She ain't alone here, Reverend." The preacher smiled faintly. "I didn't think she was." And for the first time, Abigail didn't look away. That evening, as the sun sank low and the valley turned gold, Luke stood by the fence, watching the cattle graze. Abigail walked up behind him, her hair loose, face open to the wind. "You ever think the world could forgive people like us?" she asked softly. He looked at her, his eyes steady. "Maybe the world don't need to. Maybe we just forgive ourselves." She smiled through her tears. "And if I can't?" He turned fully to her, stepping close enough for her to feel his breath. "Then I'll keep reminding you every day until you can." And under the red sky of the Wild West, where ghosts became stories and scars became names, the rancher finally moved, not to claim her, not to save her, but to hold her steady in a world that had once cast them both away.